All right. So another week in the books. And this week felt like it was going to be a slower week, right? This week felt like, oh, there aren't many huge games. Next week is really big. But this week kind of felt, it was going to be a little slow. Wasn't going to be much to watch. And no, there were some games to watch and still some upsets this week as well that we'll get there when we get there. And actually, we're going to start off with one. So the week started early this week, started on Wednesday. Sorry, the picture's a little dimmer. I'm having some trouble with lighting today because it's raining outside right now. My window is that way. It's raining outside right now, but I have a light here and we're fine. So sorry if lighting's a little poor. Sorry. But this week started off early, started on a Wednesday, and it was an upset, as you see there by the final score. Yes, Coastal Carolina no longer unbeaten. And I had a mistake on my board last week. I only said there was 10 undefeated teams left. Yeah, last week there was 11 because 2 went down this week, and Coastal Carolina was one of them. So Coastal Carolina, no longer an undefeated team. They get a loss to App State. I thought Grayson McCall had an okay day, 291 yards for 1 touchdown, but the rest of App State, what a day for Chase Bryce, 347 yards and 2 touchdowns for Chase Bryce. For the running backs, Nate Noel, 16 carries, 82 yards. Cameron Peoples, 7 carries for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. And how about this? Malik Williams for App State, 10 catches, 206 yards with a touchdown, along with Corey Xavier Sutton, 6 catches, 113 yards and a touchdown. But what a day for Malik Williams, over 200 yards receiving. App State outgained Coastal Carolina by more than 200 yards. And are able to come away, are able to avoid mistakes or giving up points off of 2 turnovers from App State as they survive and they win this game against Coastal Carolina. It was honestly a really, really entertaining game to watch. I know Coastal Carolina is, well, who knows if Coastal Carolina is going to be ranked next week. I literally just got notification that said the AP poll is out. Don't worry, I'm not going to look at it until this video is over. So you guys will obviously know if Coastal Carolina is ranked or not. But I think that's going to be interesting to see if Coastal Carolina is ranked or not. That's going to be interesting. And you'll have to find out if I still have Coastal Carolina ranked tomorrow. I'll upload my top 25. But no, it was a pretty entertaining game to watch. And Coastal Carolina, another undefeated, goes down. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Thursday games. We had FAU and Charlotte. Honestly, Charlotte had been kind of a surprise this year, and FAU had been a little bit of a disappointment. It was the opposite way in this game. FAU blew out Charlotte. It was not close throughout the entire game. I don't have much more to say about that one. FAU improves to 4-3, while Charlotte drops to the same record. So Conference USA, the race in that conference is going to be interesting, especially now with news coming out that 6 of the teams in Conference USA are getting poached. They're going to go to the American Athletic, and even more teams are thinking about a move to the Sun Belt. So, Conference USA may be a conference that doesn't exist in the coming years, but again, I'm going to talk a lot more about realignment in the offseason when we get there. But for right now, FAU looking pretty good in that game. They get the win. You know who else is looking pretty good right now? Louisiana. So Louisiana improves to 6-1. I know you can't quite see it. Again, I had trouble with lighting while taking the picture for the green screen. But yeah, they improved to 6-1. And it seems like now they might be on a collision course with App State in the Sun Belt Championship game. Who knows? Who knows what happens in the Sun Belt as well? But Louisiana, this was a close game. This was a very, very close game. Yeah, it was a tale of the running backs too. So Montrell Johnson for Arkansas State was 17 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In fact, Arkansas State, I'm going to say, controlled the game. Watching this one, I think Arkansas State played better. I think they were the better team. But Chris Smith, what a day he had for Louisiana, and I think that was the difference. Chris Smith, 24 carries with 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. As again, Louisiana just sort of surviving through their schedule. They got some interesting games left. We'll see what happens with them down the road. SMU, not an undefeated that went down this week. They remain unbeaten as they destroy Tulane. And Tulane is interesting, right? Because they keep that game against Oklahoma close. I think they put up a pretty decent fight against an Ole Miss team that's pretty good, but they're sitting at 1-6. So Tulane, kind of an interesting beast to figure out, but SMU, they keep playing like this. Really, really good chances here for SMU to play spoiler, right? They got Cincinnati left on the schedule, although they have Houston next week, which is an interesting game that I might be previewing. Don't know. Again, I haven't looked fully at the slate of games next week, but could be one to watch there. And then San Jose State. Is UNLV ever going to win a game this year? It seems like they've had a lead in every game that they've had, or in every game that they've played. They were up 17-3 with 5 minutes and 51 seconds left in the second quarter. And then San Jose State goes on a 24-7 run, or 24-3 run, and wins the game. And as soon as San Jose State scored in that last position, I was like, okay, now I can go to bed because I knew the game was over. And I woke up, and it was. So San Jose State improves to 4-4. Again, UNLV dropping, now 0-7. You get the sense that they're probably going to win a game. It's just who. Who's going to be that victim that UNLV beats? And can UNLV hold a lead? We'll see. UConn, speaking of teams that are bad, moving on to games played on Friday now, Middle Tennessee. Easy with UConn. No problems there. Blankenship, excellent game. Moving on. UCF kind of took it to Memphis. So Memphis did not have Hennigan for this game. Instead, they played freshman Peter Parrish, who had 215 yards passing, no touchdowns and 3 picks. So a very mixed day for Peter Parrish because he did have 22 scrambles or carries, whatever you want to say, for 60 yards as well. So kind of a mixed bag for Peter Parrish. I think all in all, the UCF defense played really well, as shown here. 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 8 passes defended for the UCF Knights. And they get the 24-7 win. Also behind Isaiah Bowser. Again, the transfer from Northwestern, a player that I personally really like. 26 carries for 111 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but UCF now has a record over 500, while Memphis falls to 500. Hopefully Hennigan can get back and play for Memphis, because Memphis pretty close to bowl game. Again, they only have to win 2 out of their last 4 games, so just escape with a 500 record. You make a bowl game. See what happens with both these teams later down the road. Utah State escapes against Colorado State. So now Colorado State no longer unbeaten in Mountain West play, and that division in the Mountain West still pretty wide open, as is the other division in the Mountain West, but I'll talk about that once we get to the third column, right? So Utah State got outplayed. They did. They got outplayed all day. Centennial for Colorado State, 282 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. David Bailey, running back, 30 carries, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Colorado State defense was insufferable. 8 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. Although Colorado State did have 2 turnovers, 1 fumble, and of course the interception by Centeo. However you say that name, it's a weird name. Centeo, of course, with the pick, and then a fumble late in the game, which helped Utah State go score a touchdown. So, but then Colorado State was driving, and they were driving all game. Just happened that Caden Camper missed a game-winning 42-yard field goal, and Colorado State loses this game. So now they fall to 3-4. Again, they were abysmal in non-conference. They've looked really good in Mountain West play, as Utah State. Devin Tompkins had, I believe, 6 catches for 104 yards, something like that. And Utah State survives, and now are 1 win away from bowl eligibility. And speaking of surviving, Washington survived as well. Arizona was up 13-0 at halftime, and wouldn't you know it, Washington ends up coming back to win. But the interesting thing is they rode one guy on outscoring Arizona 21-3 in the second half, and that was Terrell Bynum. In the first half, he only had 1 catch, and it went for a loss of 3 yards. His final stat line looked like 5 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown. So that means in the second half of the game, he had 4 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. Terrell Bynum had an incredible second half for Washington, and they come back to beat Arizona to improve to 3-4, while Arizona still winless. One of the only winless teams in FBS. Okay, now the Saturday slate. Into a couple games here. This one was really interesting, and it finished kind of early. Kansas State and Texas Tech. Good day for Deuce Vaughn. 15 carries, 52 yards, 2 touchdowns with 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown out of the backfield as well. Sir Roderick Thompson for Texas Tech had 11 carries for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Kansas State able to overcome 2 turnovers, both of them fumbles, and wins this game. So Texas Tech, it was a very bad last drive, and they probably could have had a lot better play calling in the last drive, but again, just didn't happen. So for Texas Tech, you lose this game. Texas Tech has looked really good all season, but I've said it before, right? Texas Tech coming in from last week had to win 1 of their last 5 games, and the last 5 games they had are against some very, very good teams. So Texas Tech, not out of the woods yet. Again, you need to get 1 more win. They still have yet to play Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Baylor, I think, are the teams that they have yet to play. So again, in my opinion, and I think a lot of other people's opinion too, the 4 best teams in the Big 12 are left on the schedule for Texas Tech. We'll see if they get there. Couple easy wins for a couple teams. Arkansas finally gets back in the win column with a 45-3 win over Arkansas Pines Bluff, an FCS team. And now Arkansas 1 win away from bowl eligibility. And Florida State, again, continuing to improve this season. They're getting back to that 500 mark. Will they make a bowl game again? We'll have to wait and see on that, but they beat UMass pretty easily as well. All right, let's talk about this game now. Oklahoma struggled with Kansas. And by struggled, I mean they were down 13-0 after 1. Oklahoma went on a 75-yard drive in the for their first drive of the second half, and they only had 78 yards in the first half. So they almost doubled their yard production that they had in the first half. And when you looked pregame on the sidelines, it was a bunch of laughs. Everyone was having fun. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to come in, slaughter Kansas. We'll pick up the win and move on. Yeah, this did not look like a motivated team. This did not look like an empowered team. It did not look like a team that was taking this seriously. And then second half, a switch got flipped. They started to take the game seriously. They started to play better. But again, Oklahoma surviving game. So they win this one by 12. Good day. Not necessarily. It wasn't a great day for Caleb Williams, but pretty solid day. 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, along with 8 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown as well. Kennedy Brooks had 79 yards on 24 carries for 2 touchdowns. Look at the Kansas side before we talk about the strip. Jason Bean, 240, who's the quarterback for Kansas, 246 yards, a touchdown, along with 14 carries for 59 yards. And Devin Neal, who is the running back, 23 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for him there. Good stat lines for those Kansas players. This is also something here, right? So the strip. Let's talk about this. So Caleb Williams hands it off to Kennedy Brooks on a 4th down play that was going to give Oklahoma possibly the chance to extend their lead, right, in which they ended up doing later. But they were up 28-23. And if Kennedy Brooks would not have gotten the first down, it would have given Kansas a chance. And, oh, no, Kansas has a chance to win the game. So what happened? Kennedy Brooks hands it off. He's getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage. And Caleb Williams, in a very intelligent move, decides to strip the ball from his own teammate, and he carries it for a first down. Now, Kansas fans watching this game, I doubt anyone who's a Kansas fan watching this video, but in case you are, hi. Welcome. Thank you for clicking. Thank you for watching. Thank you for getting to this point. First of all, I know it's already been 14 minutes, but anyways, the strip. So he steals it from him, and it's legal because he's behind the line of scrimmage. So that's a very smart play from Caleb Williams. They extend the lead, and Kansas ends up making things interesting. Again, they make things interesting in this game, but ultimately this is the game Oklahoma should have won by way more than 12 points. Again, I have yet to see the AP poll. So do they fall from that? Do they not? Probably a stupid question to ask me right now, but again, I haven't seen the AP poll. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Oklahoma later this year. Do they keep surviving? Because I believe they have Texas Tech next week, and then they have a bye. Then they play Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. That's what Oklahoma has to finish out. So we'll see what the Sooners have later down the line. Michigan State rode the running, or not Michigan State. Michigan State was on bye. Michigan, the other rival. I apologize to Wolverine fans everywhere, except kind of don't. Anyways, Blake Corum, 19 carries for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hassan Haskins, 23 carries, 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Michigan beats Northwestern, not looking ahead at all to Michigan State. And of course, that showdown next week is going to be huge. Going to be a very fun game to watch as well. Cincinnati struggled with Navy, and a lot of first half penalties for Cincinnati. They were kind of beating themselves into the ground here. 11 penalties for 93 yards in this game. And in fact, Navy controlled the clock. So 20 minutes and 33 seconds was the time of possession for Cincinnati, in which time of possession for Navy, 39 minutes and 27 seconds. But Cincinnati turns it around in the second half. This team finally has to gut one out, and they do. They win by 7. The game was a lot more lopsided in the second half than the score would make it seem. Navy made it interesting late. In fact, even recovered an onside kick that possibly could have led down to tie the game, but very next play, threw an interception, game over. Cincinnati wins by 7. This is going to be one of those games that the committee looks at and says, because again, I think people are going to make all the arguments in the world on why Cincinnati should not be in the playoff. I think they should be in the playoff. They've proven it. They've proven they can gut out wins if they have to as well. Cincinnati should have remained their number 2 spot in the poll. And we'll see what happens with the Bearcats later on. Again, SMU still on that schedule, but they're going to be favored in every game they have left. Okay. Sorry, I dropped the thing. All right. Moving on now to the second column of games. Eastern Michigan beats Bowling Green 55-24. So a good win there for Eastern Michigan. They improved to 5-3. And Maction, I believe, starts this week as well. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Maction is happening. Look forward to that because Maction can be chaotic and it can be a lot of fun. Not necessarily highly ranked teams in the MAC, teams that are going to get national attention, but Maction is fun. So Eastern Michigan wins that game against Bowling Green. Easy win there. Watch for Maction this week. Could be a lot of fun. Red River rivalry and Arkansas Ole Miss, eat your heart outs because Wake Forest hangs 70 on Army, but Army also hung 56 on Wake Forest. And I could go through so many stat lines right now, but I'm only going to go through a few that impress me. On the Wake Forest side, 458 yards and 5 touchdown passes from Sam Hartman, while Jaquari Roberson, 8 catches, 157 yards with 3 touchdowns. A.T. Perry had a good day as well. And then on the Army side, Jabari Laws, the quarterback at Army, again, they run the triple option, had 140 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, which is the most that Army's had in the game that I can remember for a long time. Some really good days for a lot of players there at Army, but what killed Army in this game was turnovers. They had 2 turnovers, 1 pick, and they had 1 pick, which was actually returned for a touchdown, was a pick 6, and then a fumble towards the end of the game that, again, led Army to be down by 14. So if not for those first 2 turnovers, who knows how many points would have been scored in this game? It could have been 84-77. Who knows? But what the interesting thing is Army scores 56 points, and that's not impressive when you look at their time of possession, which was 42 minutes and 43 seconds. Again, Army likes to control the clock. What is impressive is when you flip that, Wake Forest scores 70 points, and they have the ball for 17 minutes. That's it. You can do the math if you want, but Wake Forest scored on almost every possession they had. 17 minutes. That's all they had the football for, and they made the most of it. 70 points. This is the most combined points in a game for either of these teams in program history. Game trends, stats, 638 total yards for Wake Forest, while 595 total yards for Army. Wake went 7 of 8 on third downs, while Army went 9 of 16. Army did convert on some 4th downs as well. But there's your offense for the week. Now, let's keep going with review. So Wake Forest remains undefeated, but I'm going to talk about why they might not be the best team in the ACC. We'll get there. Northern Illinois beats Central Michigan. Both these teams ride their running backs, Jay Ducker for Northern Iowa and Lou Nichols for Central Michigan. Each of them had over 175 yards, but Lou Nichols, the only running back that got touchdowns out of those 2, and he had 2 of them. But on the final drive, Central Michigan was driving. Northern Illinois scored late. Central Michigan was driving. They get all the way down to the Northern Illinois 22-yard line. And oh no, they fumble the football. They turn it over. And Northern Illinois, able to survive, beat Central Michigan. So Northern Illinois clinches a spot in a bowl game. Honestly, good for them because Northern Illinois has played some really good football this year. Again, Maction, watch it, live it, love it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see what happens with Northern Illinois down the stretch, but they clinch a spot in the bowl game. Good for the Huskies. Syracuse survives against Virginia Tech. This is the best Virginia Tech has looked at offense in a while. The only problem was they had to go up against Garrett Schrader and Sean Tucker. Schrader had 236 yards for 2 touchdowns on 22 carries for 174 yards and 3 touchdowns for Schrader as well. He plays like a running back that can also throw the football pretty good. Sean Tucker, 20 carries, for 112 yards and a touchdown. Damian Alford had the game-winning touchdown catch for Syracuse. It was a 45-yard pass from Garrett Schrader, and Syracuse able to get their first ACC win of the year, I do believe, as they beat Virginia Tech. So again, Virginia Tech's been kind of a hard team to follow this year as well. Hopefully they can get more consistent because Virginia Tech, I think they have enough talent to make a bowl game, while Syracuse is getting close to making a bowl game. They've been a good surprise this year. And speaking of surprises, let's talk about this one. Buckle up because we're at the 21.5-minute mark of this video. By the time I'm done talking about this one, we could be in the 24-minute mark. I'm just saying. Illinois pulls off the shocking upset of the week. This is an upset that nobody saw coming in a way that absolutely nobody saw coming. So let's talk about regulation. Penn State could not defend the run in this game. In fact, Chase Brown had 33 carries for 223 yards and 1 touchdown, while McCray for Illinois had 24 carries on 142 yards on 24 carries. But Penn State, of course, they jump out to the early lead. Illinois fights back. Penn State defense holds as we go into overtime, all tied at 10, I do believe. Yes, all tied at 10. First overtime, both teams get field goals. Okay, kind of sorting things out, not a big deal. Second overtime, both teams also get field goals. So now the score is 16 all. And okay, again, triple overtimes. With the new rules, this game probably won't go on much longer. I stopped keeping track of the number of overtimes and I just watched. A 2-point conversion off for the ages, the longest game in FBS history, 9 overtimes for Illinois and Penn State. And honestly, you can call them whatever you want because it's a 2-point conversion off past the third overtime. And I can't decide if I like it. I can't. I don't know if I like it or not. Let me know how you guys feel about the overtime format in the comment section below. Personally, I feel like football does not set itself up for a good overtime format, but I have always been a person that's play until there's a winner. So maybe put 10 extra minutes on the clock and then just play those 10 minutes and see who comes out on top. That's what I'm usually all for. But the 2-point conversion off, I get it. It's to keep the game short. I still can't decide if I like it or not. Hey, you guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below. I already said that, but please let me know. Penn State loses this game. Look, no one could seem to convert a 2-point conversion. The first one for Penn State, just out of Sean Clifford's reach, a little flea flicker trick play. The first one for Illinois, just out of the wide receiver's reach. In the fourth overtime, Artur Sitkowski broke his arm. So Brandon Peters had to come in for the rest of the game. He ended up throwing the game-winning 2-point conversion pass to Washington in the back of the end zone as Illinois pulls off the upset in now what is Unhappy Valley. So this game against Ohio State coming up for Penn State was going to be a huge game, playoff elimination. Now it's a playoff elimination for only one team, and that's Ohio State, the team you see right there. And we'll talk about them a little bit later. But Penn State, a disappointing loss here. Again, have not seen the AP poll. Interested to see how far they've fallen in the rankings. Time to roll through a couple games here. Kent State able to beat the struggling Ohio. I thought this was an Ohio team capable of winning the Mid-American Conference, and now they're not even going to get to a bowl game. They're 1-7. Can't get to a bowl one unless there aren't enough 6-6 teams, but that would mean they also have to run the table. So for Ohio, I think this is a very disappointing season for Kent State. You improved to 500, get back in the Mid-American conversation. Georgia State able to beat Texas State. Again, didn't watch much of that game, so not much to say about that one. Good win for Georgia State here. They improved to 3-4. Now let's talk about Purdue. When I saw Purdue was ranked at 25th, I'm like, okay, sure. But personally for me, no. I had Purdue as like my 2016, like, okay, let's see if they can beat Wisconsin. Then we can talk about if Purdue deserves to be ranked or not. This game showed us that no, they don't. And it was the fact that Purdue could not stop the run in this game, which is Wisconsin's only offense. That's it. That's all that Wisconsin can do. Graham Mertz threw 8 passes in this game because, again, they don't trust him. And most of the nation doesn't either. But Ches Malusi, Braylon Allen ran all over this Purdue defense. Malusi, 27 carries, 149 yards, and a touchdown, while Allen, 12 carries for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this Wisconsin defense was incredible as well. It was really good yesterday. 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 5 turnovers. They forced 2 fumbles and 3 picks from the quarterbacks that Purdue decided to play. And yeah, Purdue loses this game. Wisconsin, I don't think Wisconsin should get back in the top 25 yet. Again, that quarterback play is just awful at Wisconsin, especially for Graham Mertz, who has had just a disappointing career since that Illinois start last year. But yeah, Wisconsin beats Purdue by 17 on the road. And now Wisconsin has a game against Iowa, and they get them in Camp Randall. That's an interesting game to watch. Be on the lookout for that one. Man, Wyoming has not been the same team since they went undefeated. They went 4-0 to start the season. They've dropped their last 3, only scoring 3 points here against New Mexico as the Lobos are able to win this one here in what I'm calling a mild upset. Ball State's offensive struggles showed back up in this game as Miami of Ohio goes and beats Ball State. They win that game by 7. California able to beat Colorado. Again, Colorado has had offensive struggles this year as well. Only 3 points in this game. Cal able to get the win. Byu and Washington State. Tyler Algier had a great day. 32 carries, 191 yards, and 2 touchdowns, while Max Borghi, 18 carries for 83 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. Washington State kept this one close. They even had a chance to tie with a 2-point conversion, and they don't get it. So BYU, after dropping their last 2 games, able to win this game here. And now BYU has clinched a spot in a bowl game. All right, sorry, I just had to take care of something. All right, Buffalo and Akron. This Buffalo defense in this game, while I didn't watch any of the game, I had to go back and watch highlights because the Buffalo defense was everywhere in this game. 11 sacks, 11 sacks. Yes, you heard that right. 14 tackles for loss as well, and they win by 35. No surprise they win by 35, but the way the Buffalo defense performed, outstanding. Buffalo improves to 500. Minnesota and Maryland. So again, Maryland starting off 4-0, and they've dropped their last 3 as well. Just talked about that with Wyoming. Maryland's done the same thing. And with Minnesota, it seems like every time a running back just gets hurt or doesn't play well, they have another running back that can slot in. So Kai Thomas, 21 carries, 139 yards, and a touchdown. And Marquise Irving, 15 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. And a nasty stiff arm in this game as well from Marquise Irving as Minnesota able to win by 18. All right. Another upset of the week. And I'm calling it upset because I picked Oklahoma State, but Vegas, not an upset in eyes of Vegas. Iowa State was favored by a touchdown coming into this game. They only win by 3. So those of you that bet on Oklahoma State, you won some money. But Oklahoma State fans are not happy about this game. Spencer Sanders, 225 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Warren, 18 carries, 76 yards. And Brandon Presley, 6 catches, 84 yards with 2 touchdowns from Spencer Sanders. On the Iowa State side of things, Brock Purdy, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air. Breece Hall, 21 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown that ended up being the game-winning touchdown. And Xavier Hutchinson, what a day he had. 12 catches, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns, as well as one of the worst taunting penalties I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't even explain it to you. Xavier Hutchinson had a touchdown called back because of a taunting penalty that just, I can't. I can't. It was horrible. It was so bad. But Iowa State scored later in the drive. They hold Oklahoma State on a 4th and 8. They stop them 2 yards short of the first down marker. And Iowa State is able to pull off the upset. I would be very surprised if Iowa State was not ranked. After this, again, I'm recording this before seeing the AP poll. No, I've said it multiple times throughout this video, but yeah. So Iowa State probably should be back in the polls as they upset Oklahoma State, and that was the other undefeated that went down this week. So now, nine undefeated teams left in the nation. We'll see which ones remain longer. One's going to go down next week. Possibly more could as well. Pitt able to beat Clemson, and Pitt is looking like the best team in the ACC right now after this game here, which we'll talk about, right? But Pitt looking like the best team in the nation. Kenny Pickett had a fantastic day, 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, was really smart with the football. Pitt gets the 10-point win. But the story of this game, DJ Uiagalelei went 12 of 25, 128 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He ended up getting pulled. Not even going to try to say this backup quarterback's name because, I mean, I don't even know where to start. His first name is Taysom. I do know that. He went 3 of 7, 23 yards, but Uiagalelei got pulled. I believe he ended up going back and playing later in this game. So maybe now some quarterback troubles for Clemson. Clemson has really had a down year this year. They've really had a down year. Their offense is not great. They've had a lot of injuries on defense. It's been a disappointment for Clemson. It's also been a disappointment for LSU, who again, at Orgeron not coming back after this year, and you wondered how this team was going to play. Were they going to play inspired? Were they going to play some inspired football, or were they going to play sad football? And they chose sad football. The final score does not show how much of a blowout this game actually was. Max Johnson, 146 yards for no touchdowns and an interception. Of course, the quarterback for LSU. He ended up getting benched for Garrett Nussmeier, who had 103 yards and a touchdown in the game. So again, are we going to see a new quarterback for LSU? Who knows? But Ole Miss able to get the win. Matt Corral is my pick to win the Heisman right now. He is looking fantastic. Still does not have an interception on the year, even after this game. Your final score probably should have been more along the lines of 31-7, which is what it was before LSU scored 10 points in the 4th quarter. But yeah, this game was over pretty much in the 3rd quarter. Pretty much at halftime as well. Although halftime, it was still pretty close. LSU had a lead at one point, couldn't protect it, and Ole Miss gets the win. Toledo is able to beat Western Michigan, a good win there for Toledo. And Rice able to beat UAB. There's something I want to talk about in this game, though. Very briefly, UAB on the 50-yard line, a very nice 50-yard pass for the touchdown. I have the score written up on the board as 31-30 UAB. I turned it off. I was like, okay, this game is done. There was a very late flag that came in for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty before the play happened. So that backed UAB up to their own 35-yard line. And then, of course, you really don't have a shot to win from there. So Rice is able to pull off what I'm, again, calling an upset on a very, very, I'm going to go out and say controversial penalty. I don't know how UAB fans are going to feel about that one, but controversy there. UAB loses at home, and now that race for the division might come down to UTSA and UTEP, but I think UAB still very much in that division. All right, that's second column. I need to change positions so we can get on with the rest of the games. All right. Third row of games here, right? Or third column, I guess. Third column, sorry. Louisiana is not Louisiana. Man, okay. Louisville is able to beat Boston College. They win 28-14 behind Malik Cunningham's very, very, very impressive day. 107 yards and 2 picks through the air. That was it. But on the ground, 16 carries, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns, leads Louisville to the win. Mississippi State, easy win over Vanderbilt. Not much more to say about that one. And then this game here, Oregon against UCLA. Oregon finally started to look like the team that beat Ohio State in week 2. Are they there yet? No, but they're getting there, right? They're closer than they were. Anthony Brown, 296 yards through the air. Well, he didn't have a touchdown pass, did have 2 picks. still played better than he has in previous weeks. For on the ground for him as well, 6 carries for 85 yards and a rushing touchdown for Anthony Brown. And for Travis Dye, had 14 carries, only 35 yards. So the stat line doesn't jump out at you, but it's the weirdest stat line you're ever going to see because he had 4 touchdowns in the game on only 14 carries for 35 yards. And those 4 touchdowns came on 4 straight carries. That's an NCAA record that probably will not be broken for a long time. On the other side for UCLA, I thought they played a really good game. Probably could have won the game. There were a lot of miscues for Oregon late that put UCLA in position to win. Just couldn't pull it out though. But DTR, 220 yards through the air with a touchdown and a pick. And on the ground, 15 carries, 35 yards and a touchdown as well. Again, this Oregon team was able to stop the run fairly well. 13 carries, only 45 yards for Britton Brown, but did have 2 touchdowns. And for Charbonnet, 15 carries for 35 yards. The Oregon defense was great in this one as well. 4 sacks with 11 tackles for loss. And when you look at the stat line for Kayvon Thibodeau, I'm going to say this is the best game he's played all year. 9 tackles, 8 of them by himself. Yeah, only had 2 assisted tackles because, again, assisted tackle is technically 0.5 tackles. So, yeah, 9 tackles, 8 of them by himself. 2 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss. Was a huge threat. And turnovers. Each team did have 3 turnovers. So, again, there were miscues in this game that helped Oregon get back, that kept UCLA in it. But Oregon able to pull this one out, and they keep their playoff hopes alive. Liberty is able to beat North Texas. Apologies. So Liberty gets back on track, beats North Texas, and they are able to clinch a spot in a bowl game. Malik Willis, a better day in that game. North Texas has to win their last 5 games in order to make a bowl. Temple and University of South Florida. South Florida was able to do whatever they wanted on the ground. As a team, 73 carries for 421 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those 3 touchdowns were split between Jaron Mangum and Kelly Joyner. Mangum had 2, Joyner had 1. And USF able to cruise to a win against Temple. Only the 2nd win of the year for South Florida. See if they can continue that, because again, they have to win out to clinch a spot in a bowl game. How about the University of Louisiana Monroe? After beating Liberty last week, they go out and they beat South Alabama, another team that is pretty solid this year, and they beat them by 10. So watch out for ULM. This was a team that didn't win a game last year, one of the worst teams in FBS. They've quickly turned it around and are 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. That's storyline to watch there. All right, San Diego State and Air Force. This was a big game in the Mountain West, and it kind of disappointed at the beginning. San Diego State was up 20-0, but Air Force made it close late. They had 14 unanswered points to end the game. They were pinned way back in their own zone, ended up punting the ball with, I believe, around 3.5 minutes left, and San Diego State ran out the clock. San Diego State's defense is amazing. 259 yards allowed, only 4 of 16 on third downs for Air Force, and they forced 2 turnovers, 1 each from this Air Force team. Again, Air Force had 14 unanswered points to end the game, but this is an Air Force team that, again, is not bad, really solid team. It's a San Diego State team that, again, I question how much longer they're going to stay undefeated because they still have to play Fresno State. That's up next week. Talk about Fresno here in a little bit. And Nevada. Again, you see the game right there. Still have to play those 2 teams. And those 2 teams have really good offense. San Diego State does not have a great offense. So I'm interested to see what happens if San Diego State is led to kind of have to start scoring points and see what happens there. Western Kentucky able to beat FIU. Again, good day for Zoppy, Steps. Good day there. UTSA continues to play really good football as they stay undefeated. Frank Harris, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sincere McCormick, 23 carries, 113 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. One of the best running backs in the nation. Those 2 touchdown passes from Harris both went to Zachary Franklin. 5 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, while the UTSA defense was great yesterday as well. 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and a pick 6 in this game as they beat Louisiana Tech UTSA has some interesting games coming up. Still got to play UAB, still got to play UTEP. So interesting to see what happens with UTSA if they can remain undefeated all the way through. I expect them to move up in the poll after this week. All right, Tennessee and Bama. So Bama got tested. Bama really got tested in the game. Tennessee ends up losing this one by a lot more than they probably should have. And I'm going to go ahead and say that. I have no problem saying that. Tennessee lost this game by more than they probably should have, right? Hendon Hooker, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Favorite target was Cedric Tillman, 7 catches, 152 yards, and a touchdown for him. I'm including a very, very nice 70-some yard pass, again, from Hooker. But Alabama decided to take over. Bryce Young, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Brian Robinson, 107 yards, 3 touchdowns on 26 carries. Jamison Williams, 6 catches for 123 yards. John Mechie, 11 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bama had 21 unanswered points to end the game, and they beat Tennessee by 28 points. This game was a lot closer than that margin of victory, though. Bama got tested. And we'll see if Bama continues the fourth quarter effort against Tennessee or if they play like they did for the majority of the game. USC and Notre Dame really not in doubt, although USC made it interesting late, but USC had a lot of miscues in this game. An interception when they got down in the red zone, had a field goal, had a drive cut short because of the halftime, a missed field goal, and then a fumble late in the game for USC as well. Notre Dame, Kyron Williams, very good day, 25 carries, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, great day for Drake London for USC, 15 catches, 171 yards, but didn't get in the end zone. Slovis did have 1 interception in this game. Again, that was the interception early. Keontae Ingram, though, 24 carries for 130 yards and a touchdown for him. Again, short effort, though, for USC. Notre Dame improves to 6-1. Texas A&M is able to run through South Carolina. No problems there. And the offense is starting to get there, right? So no problems there for either of those. But let's talk about this one. Nevada and Fresno State. Boy, did Nevada worry me a little bit in this game, but they made it interesting late. Carson Strong had a very good day, 476 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, a throw that he'd probably like to have back. But again, can't have them all back. What a day for Romeo Doubs, too, though. Wide receiver for Nevada, really good player. That's Carson Strong's stat line. 19 catches, 203 yards in the touchdown, while the tight end Cole Turner, 8 catches, 105 yards and 2 touchdowns, including one late in the game that led it to being this final score here. So on the other side, though, Jake Haener, 256 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Jordan Mims, 23 carries, 134 yards and a touchdown. Kind of replaced Ronnie Rivers in this game. Rivers, not productive. Maybe could have gone down with an injury in this game as well. And Cedric Wheatfall for Fresno State was Haener's favorite target. Not Jalen Cropper, although did have 7 catches. Not the leading receiver. No, it was Wheatfall. 584 and 1 was his stat line. That's 5 catches, 84 yards and a touchdown. Again, Nevada, Carson Strong throws a touchdown pass to Cole Turner late in this one to bring it to the final score, and they cannot convert the 2-point conversion. It was a pass that's complete to Romeo Doubs, but the defender pushes Romeo Doubs out of bounds. Fresno State wins this game, remains undefeated, or I shouldn't say undefeated, actually. Gets a win here in Mountain West play, in which Nevada is no longer undefeated. Now Fresno State plays San Diego State next week for possibly the division. And that's going to be an interesting game to watch, but Nevada not out of the race. Definitely not out of the race. If Fresno State ends up losing to San Diego State, Nevada can still go in there, beat San Diego State, win the division, get to a Mountain West championship game. Going to be interesting to watch those two teams later down the stretch. West Virginia rides Letty Brown on 24 carries, 111 yards and 3 touchdowns as they go ahead and beat TCU. Finally looked like the West Virginia defense that has been prevalent in previous years. They win that one. Ohio State continues to blow teams out in the Big Ten. 54-7 your final score. The Ohio State defense has improved so much from this Oregon game. They had 5 sacks and 14 tackles for loss equaling Buffalo's effort this weekend as well. This Ohio State defense looks really good. Again, they're still young. There are still some things that can be fixed, as with most teams on this board. But we're going to find out how good this team really is. They get Penn State next week. Oregon State and Utah. BJ Baylor led this Oregon State team. 19 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown for him. And when you look at Cam Rising on the other side, who's the quarterback, 267 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 10 carries, 73 yards on the ground. The running back there, Tavion Thomas, 21 carries, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Utah. But again, Utah had some miscues in this game, a total of 2 field goals in the red zone, a punt that was blocked and returned for a touchdown, and 2 turnovers on downs led Oregon State to beat Utah. And now again, the Pac-12 South is wide open. Utah is still going to lead it, but Utah-UCLA is still a game that has to be played. I believe it's this week. So that could be the game that decides the Pac-12 South. But Arizona State, I think, is still a player to win that division. So we'll see what happens. Georgia Tech and in regular Virginia, for Virginia, UVA, Georgia Tech had an offensive showdown. Jeff Sims for Georgia Tech, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. While Brennan Armstrong on the other side for Virginia, 396 yards for 4 touchdowns, and on the ground, 12 carries for 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Favorite target, Dontavion Wicks, 6 catches, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns. While on the other side, Sims' favorite target was Kyrick McGowan, 7 catches, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. While Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back for Georgia Tech, got it going as well. 13 carries, 132 yards, and 1 touchdown for him. But Virginia is able to outlast Georgia Tech, scores enough points, and they win the game. They're improved to 6-2, bowl eligible. I'm thinking that this team might be able to be ranked now with Virginia, but again, we'll wait and see. A team that I'm not quite sure if they're going to be ranked after this week or not, that team is NC State. They lose to Miami here 31-30 in a game that Miami had full control over. A great win. Whatever the fate happens to be for Manny Diaz, this win is a fantastic win. Trevor Van Dyke, 325 yards and 4 touchdowns. Favorite target was Charleston Rambo, the Oklahoma transfer, 9 catches for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. Of course, De'Aaron King is out for the year. Van Dyke hadn't been playing super well, plays well in this game. Miami pulls off the upset. Again, NC State now no longer my pick to win the ACC. How are you? I'd bet on this team right here. Pitt Panthers. Pitt Wake Forest seem to be on a collision course for the ACC championship game. We'll see if that happens or not. We had another game go into overtime. Thank God it didn't go into 9 overtimes, just regular overtime. Houston and East Carolina. Houston was up late in this game. East Carolina battles back, makes it a good one. But Alton McCaskill, first play in overtime for Houston, a 25-yard touchdown, which wins the game. Houston stops East Carolina on their possession, and Houston able to win in overtime. So Houston, while they don't play Cincinnati this year, they do play SMU, and that game is going on next week. That game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then the final game, there were really like no late games to watch. The only late game started at 10:59 my time, midnight. And it was the Hawaii game. Hawaii wins by 14 points. Not much more to discuss there. You can look at who's on bye week, including the number 1 team in the nation and the former number 9 team in the nation. I'm sure they've moved up based off of the results last week. Iowa, Kentucky, Auburn, Baylor, some other notable teams on bye weeks. You got 9 undefeated teams left in the season. My top 25 video is going to be out tomorrow. That's going to do it here for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, for those of you that watch these, don't know what's going on with the green screen. Sorry. For those of you that watch these videos, I thank you so much. I know they're long, but again, they take a lot of effort here to make. If my green screen would stop freaking out, hold on. I'm going to fix that. There we go. Maybe now I can do a sensible outro. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. For those of you that watched all 50 minutes of this, I really appreciate you. As usual, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see all of you guys tomorrow when I upload my top 25. Goodbye.